All right. So I want to thank you for joining us. I know that these podcasts have been uploaded rather late, but we've been trying to get everything together for evaluate and also for the holidays. So I want to thank you guys for joining again. And we posted up some new stuff on the website that I will get into later. Um, I have a special guest today, someone who should be joining me every day, but they're special because it's my spouse, and that's Mrs. Mota. She also teaches reading at Woolley, and Woolley has done very well on the SBAC. They've done well on all of the evaluate tests, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Miss Moda. I am the fifth grade ELA teacher at Woolley. We both teach fifth grade, which is convenient because now we can both share some resources and insight into what we're learning. Recently, we've been covering figurative language, in particular proverbs. I know that some of our students have been having trouble with understanding proverbs or distinguishing them from other types of figurative language.
So what we're going to do now is go over the history of Proverbs, which my wife will speak on, and how it appears and evaluate. And then I will touch on where your child is likely to see Proverbs in the future or a version of a proverb that's going to become important for them.
Well, I don't think there's any proverbs on evaluate, but I do think that the idea of being able to find the analogies between the proverb and what the story is trying to express will be important for all our students, especially on SBAC. Now, proverbs are just short sayings that try to demonstrate any type of wisdom or advice for someone. For example, early bird gets the worm. That's a good one. Or uh, don't cry over spilt milk. Okay, the poor workman blames his tools. Those are all types of proverbs. Now, there are biblical proverbs, some that came specifically from the Bible, but a lot of proverbs are found in almost every single culture out in the world. Every culture has their own type, especially even Spanish languages have their own proverbs, which were called dichos or refrains. But our students really need to know is that they're a type of figurative language which actually means something deeper than just what the words literally mean. So, what does it mean to say a poor workman blames his tools? We're not talking about a carpenter going out and doing a bad job on an assignment. We want them to be able to understand that is a deeper level of understanding or meaning. There's a lot of proverbs that are listed on the internet. If you guys want to go on the internet, I know parents sometimes struggle with explaining proverbs to their own children. So the internet offers a lot of them, and we posted some videos on proverbs on the site so that you can check them out.
Perfect. And the only other thing I wanted to touch upon, as far as Proverbs is concerned, in the grand scheme of things, because I definitely believe in teaching parents how to advocate for their child and where this fits into the grand scheme of things. And the students are likely to see a version of Proverbs and that connecting analogies and being able to see relationships for things like the SATs. They're going to have two words that are going to be compared, and it's almost like a proverb, very figurative, where you have to kind of use everything that you know so far. So they're going to say something like a rake is to leaves as, and they're going to give you a list of things, and you're going to have to figure out the relationship between that rake and that leaf. Um, and you're going to have to abstract think. And a lot of times, those proverbs are the first time that the students are exposed to that because they're given a very common proverb and then trying to find the actual meaning, what it's exactly saying. And that kind of abstract connection there is going to serve them well in high stakes testing because they're going to have to make those same kind of connections, not only for the SATs, a little bit for the ACTs, but also for the LSATs. So I know that this is way down the road, but this is honestly what I got into teaching for is to give the students a strong foundation and let them know where they'll see it again. And that way they will understand that this is part of something much larger than just what figurative language is in fifth grade or the way we discussed it before. The next thing that I want to touch upon is the use of technology. I know that we have a podcast and that you're listening to that now, obviously, and that we have the website. And I'm using Google Analytics to attempt to track who's using the website in the sense of what would be the best time for me to send out these podcasts and resources. What tools are students using to access it? I know that right now the majority are using their cell phones, and the website is telling me that. Now, because the website is a subdomain from the school website, I cannot track it using Google Analytics. So the way I found to work around that is to set up another website with Google Analytics that students can run at the same time that they're using my site, which will give me a better indicator of when to send out these messages, what tools students are using to access the site, and better tailor my message. Wooly is doing exceptionally well, and in order for Cox to be able to bridge that gap, I need to use all of my available resources to acclimate these students to high stakes testing, to evaluate, to the SBAC, and hold them to a standard they may have not been held to before. And exposing students to technology now is going to make it better for them in middle school and in high school. In my time as a sub, I was aware of schools that were already having, at the elementary level, a student council or a student news network that was using green screens. Some of them were even creating apps, and they were way ahead of the technological curve. And that's one of the things that I want to bring to my classroom is exposing kids to as much technology with my website and the other resources I'm giving as possible to bridge that gap. Just because they're going to a middle school that maybe doesn't offer that doesn't mean they're not competing with the students that were at an elementary or middle school that does offer those things. And as it stands right now, America is the leader and innovator in automation. So there's a lot of countries that send jobs over here because we have people that are experienced enough in automation to create robots that can create high tech tools like, for example, TVs. I know that Samsung has a couple of factories out here where they're making their smart TVs that have 4K and all these capabilities because other countries can't support it. And that's the thing I always push on the students is that this is their future. And that way they don't fear automation, but they become engrossed with technology. And that's all for this podcast as far as Proverbs. I definitely want to recommend that you have your student visit the site. If you or your child have any question regarding anything that we're doing in class, I have on the tracking site included a Google form where you can talk about how much you enjoyed this podcast or the website, and then also any questions that you have. If it's a parent, I will definitely text back or call. If it's a student, I prefer to talk to them in person. So if they're having a question on something related to academics, or I know when magnet school time comes around, there's a lot of students that have questions about which ones will be the best ones to apply to, deadlines, etc. They can definitely reach me through that. So I want to thank you for sitting with me through this podcast. I know it wasn't as long as the previous one, going about almost 10 minutes here. And I'll let my wife also say her final words. And I want to thank you for being with us.
Well, I have nothing else really to add, but thanks for listening to us. And if you, like I said, if any of my students have questions on proverbs or figurative language, please let me know so that I can sit down with you and really explain it in depth. Thanks.
All right, thank you.